Hey everyone, it's Tara. Welcome. We are going to get started with the Summer Sundress Creative Challenge, and today we are going to make this heart here. Before I begin, I'll tell you what supplies we're using. So the paint color for the background is, you've got two different shades of blue. You have a darker blue, that's what we're using for the dots, and you have kind of an aqua green blue, and that's what I use for the background. You can choose whichever you'd like for the background, but I'm going to stick with the aqua, which is what I used for my sample. And we've got Royal Fuchsia, and we've also got the navy, and everybody has a Decoart Enchanted shimmer. I've got magenta. Half the boxes got magenta and half the boxes got a blue. So you can let me know when you post a picture of the art you make today which one you ended up with. And then I've got my styluses from my kit, and then we're going to be using the drill bits again for this session. This was just kind of a fun thing that we're doing this month, so that's why I've got that. And then you will need your stencil with your 12 arms, so make sure it's the 12 arm stencil. And we're just going to get started by painting the rock with your background color. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and that'll give anybody else time to show up if they're running a few minutes late. Right, I'm just going to let this dry for a moment, and then we will get started. All right, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is take your stencil and your chalk or your marking pencil. I'm going to use a brown one so you can see what I'm doing on camera, but usually I would use white if I'm creating. And you just kind of want to place your stencil on the heart. Now this one I placed pretty far down. It seems when I work with hearts, I tend to want to place up in the corner, but you really want to kind of come right about here when you place your stencil, the center of your stencil. And the reason why you want to do that is I kind of want a full line. So if here's my center, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 dashes that will fit on that heart. So give yourself plenty of room to create. Make sure you have at least 3 dashes that fit on there. Right, and then after you get that on there, we're going to get started. I'm going to pour out some paint because I used a lot for my samples. I'm already out. So don't mind me while I get my paint going. All right, so oops. All right, so we're going to start. If you have your step-by-step sheet, that may be handy for you to get out. Our center circle I actually did with the large pink dotting tool, large pink stick here, the rod, and that is with our navy blue. Remember when you're dotting, oops, I've got some hair in there. You want to go up over the edge and make sure there's plenty of paint on there. You just want to lightly kiss it so that you see the paint squish gently out of the sides. So there is our center dot. And then I'm going to switch to my green stylus, the small end, and some white paint. And I am going to make a dot on every other line. And I think my lines here are just slightly off, so I'm going to fix those a little bit. Remember, we're going to dot and dip after every part. So dot and then dip. I'm going to skip a line, dot and then dip, skip a line, dot and dip. And so we'll end up with 6 of these. And then on every other line that we did not do, I'm going to use the same end, the small end of the green stylus and the Calypso blue. And I'm going to put a dot on every free line. With these small dots, this Calypso blue might be hard to see on camera just because it's very similar to the other color, the Bahama blue. But they are there. You'll be able to see them if they're bigger. Then I'm going to switch to green stylus large end, and I'm going to do the opposite of what I just did. So wherever there is a white dot, I'm going to put a Calypso blue dot. And wherever there's a blue dot, I'm going to put a white dot. So I'm going to start with the Calypso blue. I'm going to go in with the white. For the next step, I am going to use the larger purple drill bit. And if you don't have a drill bit or you don't like using the drill bits, the largest purple drill bit is about 4 millimeters. So you can use your purple stylus, or I'm sorry, your purple rod. That would be the closest size. That's a 6 millimeters. So it'll be slightly bigger. So you can use this or your purple rod. And then I'm going to alternate one more time. So wherever I have blue, I'm going to put a white, and wherever I have white, I'm going to put a blue. So there's six blue and then 6 white. All right, next we're going to use our green stylus on the fat tipped end, the large end, and we are going to start using some of our navy and magenta. Let me put this up here. And we are going to do some swipes. And so I'm going to come right next to the color and pull the swipe out. I'm going to start with magenta. I keep calling it magenta. It's actually a royal fuchsia color, but our pink. I'm going to get enough on my tool here. And everywhere I have a blue dot, I'm going to make a magenta dot next to it and swoop outwards. And it should take me about to the end of that row.
Tara, you said this was the large end?
Yes, this is the large end.
Thank you.
So I'm going to do 6 of the fuchsia and then 6 with my navy blue. I'm going to put the navy blue next to the white. Remember when doing your swipes that you just hold it and use pressure like a pencil. You don't adjust your pressure until you're lifting up at the very end. But I have been seeing in the group, it looks like everybody's got their swoops and swipes down pretty good. All right, the next tool I'm going to use is the small red drill bit. If you don't have a small red drill bit, use the large end of your green, well, you can use the small red drill bit or the large end of your green stylus. And then we're going to create white dots at the end of this last circle. So in between each of these navy and magenta, I'm going to add a dot right where they end. And so this is kind of where we're starting to get at the end of where things fit on the heart. This one I created a little closer to central than this one, and so I might be able to go all the way around with these. This is where you kind of have to use your judgment as to what falls off the end. Here, I wasn't able to go all the way around, so it's kind of up to you and your spacing and where you place your center. And we end up with 12 of those in between each one of those swipe rays. And then for step 6, we are going to add some more navy and magenta dots. I am going to use my large blue drill bit. The large blue drill bit is about 5 millimeters, so I would suggest using your purple rod if you don't like the drill bit. So we are going to alternate navy and magenta. And for this, I am going to alternate opposite of what I did here. So if I have a magenta swipe, I'm going to come through with my blue, large blue drill bit, and I'm going to add a navy right next to it. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to do my navies next to all my magenta swipes. And if you can't fit these up around the edge of your heart, just leave them off. It looks like up here, I stopped where my rays were because that's where it naturally felt like it ended. So when you're working towards an edge, that's what you can do. Whenever you get to the edge, that's where you stop for that part. So I'm going to add 6 navy, and then wherever I have navy swipes, I'm going to change to the fuchsia. So this compared to my sample right now, we're on this part here. So we did the white dots, and then here's our alternating navy and fuchsia. Next, we're going to add a dot using our green stylus large end. I'm going to add a dot in the center of each navy and fuchsia. So I ended up with 12. You may have less than that over here. I only put on 4 dots because that's what I felt fit in my design as far as the spacing. And then next to each dot, we're going to add a swoop. So I'm going to dip and swoop on each side of that white dot. Sometimes if I don't like my swoop, I go in there with just the smaller end and kind of fix it a little bit. Some days I'm on it with these swoops, and some days they need a little love. Right, for the next row, I'm going to use my large red drill bit, or you can use your blue rod. And for the spaces that I have the fuchsia, I'm going to come back to my Calypso blue, and I'm going to add a large dot after my fuchsia. And then after the navy, I'm going to add fuchsia. So we're alternating the Calypso blue and fuchsia. then for the next step, we're going to add some white dots. I'm going to use my large green drill bit, which, let's see what the comparison would be. If you're using the large green, you could either use purple, depending on your spacing, or blue, depending on your spacing. But I'm going to add a dot kind of in between these and slightly up. So closer to my swoops and swipes up here, in between. It's kind of in line with the other white dot that we placed. So white dot, white dot. And again, with this one, you kind of just have to make a judgment call as to what fits and what doesn't, depending on your stone. Actually take these off. I think I did these on the ends trying to squeeze them in, and I'm not crazy about it. And then our final step, we are going to walk the dots around the Calypso blue and fuchsia large dots here. So I'm going to use my green stylus. I'm going to use the large end and make my center dot for each one with white. Of course, you can shake it up and use navy if you want to. Don't be afraid to change up the designs a little bit based on what you like. So then I'm going to switch to the small end of the green stylus, and I'm just going to walk these dots around on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to do 4 today. I think I fit 5 on this one. 2, 3, 4. And then the last thing that I did was I added a top dot here in the center with the Calypso blue on top of that navy. And so just choose a smaller size. If you want to do that, you know, top dots are always a personal preference. I like to set you free with the top dots. So if you want to add top dots, you can go through and change the design, add some top dots in there. You can fill in some space if you want to with additional dots. The reminder for top dots, you want to make sure your top layer or your first layer is somewhat dry, or at least has a film over it before you add top dots. Otherwise the paint is going to mix and you don't want that. And the very last thing I did after everything was dry is I put that iridescent color on. So if you want to try that for this stone, you can always use it for a different stone if you don't want it to play with this one, but you can add that top coat on there. So this enchanted shimmer that you got is a top coat, so it'll be shiny, it'll seal the rock. So if you put it on the top and the bottom, the rock will be sealed for you. And that is it for the Summer Sundress Creative Challenge. I can't wait to see what you make. Remember to post it in the group so everybody can see the samples and cheer you on. And I'll see you next time, y'all.